Ever get that like little notification, when you're tracking a package?
Oh.
The one that says, "Oh, it's delayed due to a compliance issue?"
Ugh, yeah.
Infuriating,
Oh, worst.
but also kind of mysterious.
Yeah.
Like, would I ask that? Today, we're going deep on supply chain compliance, and let me tell you, it is way more wild than that little notification lets on.
Oh, absolutely. It's a rabbit hole for sure.
We're diving into an episode of Masood Khan's Supply Chain Savvy podcast, and buckle up because he does not hold back on just how much is going on behind the scenes of, well, pretty much everything we buy.
It's true. It really is global.
So before we even get to the nitty-gritty, can you give us the big picture?
Mm.
What makes compliance such a beast to wrangle?
It's mostly about globalization, honestly. I mean, think about it. The journey of even a simple product, a t-shirt, a coffee mug.
Or that smartphone we all have glued to our hands.
Exactly. It's insane, right?
Yeah.
Raw materials from who knows where, manufacturing often on the other side of the planet, shipping, import, export. Each step has to navigate this whole web of international laws, trade deals, not to mention the ethical side of things, which consumers are more and more aware of.
Yeah, speaking of, the Supply Chain Savvy episode really got into the weeds on global trade compliance specifically.
Right, and it's timely too because we've seen how fast things can change with, trade wars and sanctions and all that.
So what does that mean for, say, me trying to buy a new laptop or something?
It means that laptop is part of a geopolitical chess game, whether we realize it or not. And those international treaties, the tariffs, even sanctions, they all factor into the final price tag, which, by the way, is not the whole picture.
Okay, so unpack that a little because, yeah, I see a price, I assume that's what I pay.
Right, but customs duties, tariffs, all that stuff, it's often invisible to us, but it directly impacts what companies have to charge.
And that's not even getting into the human side of things.
Exactly. And this is where compliance gets really real. The podcast brought up the Rana Plaza disaster, remember that?
Oh gosh, yeah, that was horrific.
A tragic example of what happens when labor practices are ignored for the sake of, I don't know, a cheaper t-shirt. And the damage to those companies' reputations was huge. Consumers are demanding more transparency now. They want to know who's making their clothes, under what conditions.
It's not just about stuff either. I
Yeah.
mean, digital products have to deal with this too, right?
Absolutely. Data privacy, intellectual property, all that falls under compliance. Imagine, like, you're a software company. You've jumped through all the hoops to be GDPR compliant in Europe. You're feeling good.
Then you want to expand to, say, Asia, and bam,
Yeah.
whole new set of rules.
Exactly. It's a moving target for sure, especially with tech evolving so fast.
Speaking of tech, it's kind of ironic that it's also part of the solution, right? Like, I know AI and blockchain are being looked at for supply chain transparency.
For sure. It's like this double-edged sword, isn't it? But that's another deep dive for another time.
Okay, so big takeaway here. Our global supply chains are mind-bogglingly complex. They touch every part of our lives.
And have very real human and environmental costs.
So next time you're like, ooh, great deal on something, maybe take a second to think about what might be behind that price tag.
Couldn't agree more.
That's all the time we have for this deep dive. Until next time, thanks for listening.